The quiet hum of the apartment was broken by the sound of a mother's gentle actions that night. Maria, the mother's name, seemed calm and collected as she gave her baby daughter a sleeping pill and then casually stirred ant-filled powdered milk into a bottle. She gave it to her baby, who quickly drank it and fell into a deep sleep. Maria then left her home and went to meet her ex-boyfriend Steve for a clandestine rendezvous. But her husband Shane came home early. As he walked into the apartment, he saw an empty baby bottle filled with ants, and a chilling feeling began to grow inside him. He ran to his daughter's room and found her passed out. His heart was in his throat, and he rushed her to the hospital. He ran through the hospital corridors, begging the doctors to save her. After a few agonizing hours, the doctor told him that his daughter was fine. Shane was filled with relief and a deep sense of gratitude. He took his daughter home, but just as they were about to arrive, he saw Maria passionately kissing another man. The rage inside him began to grow. He had worked so hard to save his daughter's life, only to find out that his wife was cheating on him. The man he saw was the same man she had been with before, her ex-boyfriend. He swore to himself that he would take revenge on Maria and her lover. The film's quiet, unsettling beginning had a history, and it all started with an unemployed husband named Shane. While his wife Maria went to work every day at a financial institution to support their family, Shane's life was a cycle of domestic duties. He cooked, cleaned, and took care of their baby daughter, doing his best to make their home a haven. In his spare time, he found solace in books, often visiting a nearby secondhand bookstore. His days were filled with a simple, quiet routine, a stark contrast to the betrayal that was unfolding behind his back. Without his knowledge, Maria was having a passionate affair with her ex-boyfriend, a man named Steve. One day after leaving work, Maria drove to her lover's apartment. Their reunion at the door was a passionate embrace that quickly led inside. While they were consumed by their affair, Shane was a world away, engrossed in a romance novel. He had just finished reading when he went to pick up his daughter from daycare. In the elevator, he had a chance encounter with an old friend, a woman named Hannah, who was just moving to the apartment building. He helped her with her belongings, and in return, she gave him her phone number. When Shane arrived home, his baby daughter began to cry, but Maria was still not home. Shane went to prepare a bottle for her, but to his horror, he found the powdered formula filled with ants. He immediately threw it away and replaced it with a fresh one. At the same time, Maria and Steve were still in the throes of their affair, taking photos of themselves for an album of memories. As she looked through the pictures, she came across an old engagement ring from their past. She put it on and it fit her perfectly, making Steve smile. He then gave her a duplicate of his apartment key as he drove her home, a silent gesture that told her she was free to come and go as she pleased. Later that night, Shane woke up to his baby's cries. Maria was home, but she was in the bathroom, smoking a cigarette. Shane was left to comfort the baby, while Maria was lost in her own thoughts. The next morning, she played the part of a loving mother, but her voice was hoarse. Shane was suspicious and asked her where she had been. She lied, saying that she had been out with friends, but Shane did not know that her raspy voice was not from a night of singing, but from screaming in ecstasy. Later that morning, after dropping his daughter off at the daycare, Shane spent his days in a fruitless search for work. His job applications were met with endless rejection, and with each passing day, his hope began to dwindle. Exhausted, he would retreat to the secondhand bookstore, a quiet sanctuary where he could escape his worries. His days were filled with a monotonous rhythm of chores, job hunting, and reading. While Shane was busy running errands, his wife Maria was at a shopping mall, living her best life. She was not there to buy clothes for her husband, but for her lover, Steve. She was supposed to meet Steve there, but she chickened out at the last minute because she did not want to be late and arouse her husband's suspicion. She left the mall, and Steve was left waiting for her until late at night. When Maria got home, the phone rang. Shane picked it up, but the person on the other end was silent, so he hung up, not knowing it was from Steve, restless after a whole day waiting for Maria. Soon the phone rang again, but this time Shane picked up but didn't say a word, as he was busy watching a TV show. On the other end, Steve also didn't say a word, afraid that the one picking up the call was Maria's husband. Maria saw him relaxing and got angry. She lashed out at him, saying that she had been waiting for a call from her office and that he had no right to relax while their baby was crying. Her insults were like daggers tearing at his pride. She went on and on about how he had failed to provide for the family and how he was a disappointment as a man and a husband. After her tirade, Shane went outside to clean the car. He vented his frustration by aggressively scrubbing the car mats. It was there that he found a toll booth receipt. He was filled with a sense of dread. He knew that their financial records had no record of Maria using a toll road. The seed of suspicion began to grow. Later that night, the two were in bed, and Shane was filled with passion. But Maria was a world away. She was thinking about her lover, Steve, and the time they had spent together. Shane was filled with a sense of hopelessness. The next day, Maria went to work, and Steve came to see her. Steve was a designer at the same company. The two went into her office, and Maria closed the curtains. They then began to passionately kiss and make love. After their impassioned tryst in the office, Maria received a call from the receptionist telling her husband, Shane, had arrived. Panic set in. Maria and Steve scrambled to straighten the office. Outside, Shane was confused as to why the curtains were drawn. He walked in and saw Maria and Steve pretending to be busy with work. Steve greeted him with a polite nod before leaving. Later, as they drove away home, Shane sensed that something was off. He asked Maria why she was not wearing her shoes, but she ignored the question and changed the subject. Her cold and dismissive attitude angered Shane, and he almost hit a pedestrian. Because of this, he decided to take their car to a small garage to replace the brakes for a cheaper price. Maria ridiculed him, calling him a cheap and calculating man. Shane was filled with a sense of dread. He felt emasculated and was a man on the verge of breaking down. He drove her to their apartment and dropped her off. He then drove to a bookstore to pick up a few books on job searching. After Shane left, Maria immediately hailed a taxi and went back to Steve's apartment. She was not satisfied with their tryst at the office and wanted more. Steve saw her wearing their old engagement ring, and his eyes lit up. He was engulfed in love, and the two went back to his room to continue their affair. At the same time, Shane found a strange apartment key that was attached to his wife's car keys. It was the key that Steve had given her. It was then that Shane's suspicions began to grow. He then went home to find that his wife was not there. He tried his best to keep it together. He still believed that his wife loved him. He tried to think positively and began to apply for more jobs, thinking it would make his wife love him again. But no matter how hard he tried to keep a positive outlook, his instincts told him that something was wrong. He went back to the car and began to investigate. He found the toll booth receipt, the mysterious key, and the unusual odometer reading. He knew that he was being played for a fool. The distance on the odometer did not match their financial records, and he knew that his wife had been going on long drives. Driven by a creeping dread, Shane followed his suspicion. The next morning, as Maria and Steve were at work, he took a bus to the address he found on the mysterious key. He was filled with a sense of anxiety. The journey was a silent and torturous one. He prayed to God that his suspicions were wrong, but as he looked at the key, he saw the logo of an apartment building and a room number. He found the building and walked toward the apartment. He put the key in the lock and was filled with a sense of utter despair when it turned. He felt that his world had collapsed before his very eyes. He slowly went inside and looked around. The bed was still unmade, and there were tissues all over the floor. He knew that he was right all along. His heart sank when he found a photo album filled with pictures of Maria and Steve. There were countless intimate photos of them together. But the worst part was not the photos. It was the fact that the album was filled with photos of the two before he married Maria, meaning this affair had happened long before he and Maria had married. He was a man who was too trusting. It was then that he found a photo of Steve holding his baby. He was in a state of utter shock, filled with a sense of worthlessness. He felt like a failure as a husband and a man because he couldn't provide for his family. Shane went home to find his wife there, but he couldn't talk to her. He just looked at her in silence. She tried to talk to him, but he just stared at her. He just asked if he was happy with her life. But Maria ignored him and told him to eat. Filled with despair, Shane went to his daughter's room and held her hand. It was the only way he could find peace. The following day, Shane found himself at the secondhand bookstore. But this time, he wasn't there for romance. He was so obsessed with finding the truth that he found himself reading books on crime and mystery. When he got home later, he saw his wife Maria getting ready for work. He said nothing as he knew that she was not going to her office but to her lover's arms. She told him that she was going to work, and he just nodded. Shane's suspicion was right. Maria and Steve were at the beach. After their date, they went back to his apartment, where their affair continued. Afterward, Maria went to the bathroom and was shocked when she saw a pile of baby supplies. She confronted Steve, who told her that he was ready to have a family with her. He told her that he was not a plaything and that he wanted a more serious relationship. Maria was in a state of utter shock. She told him that her love for him was true, but his sudden and selfish decision was too much for her. She told him that she preferred a no-strings-attached relationship to a serious one. In a fit of rage, she left and got into a car accident. The incident made Maria realize the error of her ways. She tried to become a better wife by doing all the household chores. She was filled with a newfound respect for her husband's daily routine. She tried to rekindle the flame, but Shane was now cold and distant. She was trying her best to cook dinner for her family, but she was struggling. Shane saw her and offered to help. She was happy that her husband was talking to her and told him that she could handle it on her own and that he should go back to watching TV. The two had dinner together, and Maria apologized for all the things she had said to him. They were a family again, but their happiness was short-lived. The phone soon rang, and a voice told Shane that a relative had passed away and that he had to attend the funeral. The phone rang again, but this time there was no voice on the other end. A sudden dread filled Maria. She knew that the call was from Steve. Shane then told Maria that he had to go to the funeral and that he would go to the car repair shop first to fix the brakes that she had broken in her car accident. He then asked her for her car keys. As Shane drove to the repair shop, the phone in the apartment began to ring. Steve was on the other end, his voice filled with a venomous fury. He told Maria that he would not accept being cast aside so easily. Maria got really mad because Steve had dared to call her home telephone, but her anger quickly turned to fear when Steve told her that he was coming to the apartment. Maria was in a state of crisis and was filled with a sense of dread. She was at a crossroads. She could either stay at home and be a good wife or leave her baby and go to her lover. Finally, she made her decision. Afraid her husband would soon come back, she told Steve back and told him to meet her at a cafe near the apartment. Her baby was still awake, and she was desperate to make her fall asleep. She tried to rock her to sleep, but the baby would not stop crying. In a moment of frustration, Maria went to the medicine cabinet and grabbed a bottle of sleeping pills. She picked one, cut a small bit of it, put it into the baby's formula, and began to stir. The baby looked up at her mother with a look of pure innocence and trust. The baby grabbed her mother's face with her soft hand, as if to tell her not to leave. But Maria had already made her choice. She let her baby drink the drugged milk, and the baby fell into a deep sleep. Maria then went to meet Steve at the cafe. Steve confronted Maria and asked her why she was trying to get rid of him. He told her that he would leave her alone if she wanted him to. Maria told him that she did not want to leave him, but that she was a wife and a mother. Steve then dropped a bombshell. He told her that her baby was his, a fact that she had revealed to him at the hospital after she gave birth. Upon hearing that, Maria apologized and confirmed that the baby was his, revealing that Shane had been raising another man's child.
There's a shadow in the schoolyard's light, a figure moves where wrong feels right. Words are arrows sharp and slight on the quiet under sky. Oh, they scream like storms that rage, but I am calm, an unwritten page. Their voices fade, I hear the ground, a softer world where I am found. I speak in whispers the world can't hear, a language woven from pain and fear. Though they call me broken, I am whole, a silent hymn within my soul.
The two then began to drink and get intimate. Maria was in a state of utter moral decay. She had drugged her baby just so he could see her lover. As Shane drove to the repair shop, a chilling premonition washed over him. He rushed home to find that his wife was gone, and the baby's bottle filled with ants told him a different story. He looked at his baby and saw that she was running a high fever. He rushed her to the hospital where the doctor ran a series of tests. The doctor was filled with a sense of shock. He told Shane that his baby was poisoned with adult tranquilizers. The doctor told Shane that if he had come a little later, his baby would have suffered from brain damage or even death. He was devastated. He could not believe that his wife would do such a thing. Luckily, the doctors were able to save his baby. He was filled with a sense of relief and a deep sense of gratitude. He took his baby home, but as he was about to get there, he saw his wife kissing another man. It was Steve. Rage burned in him, but he held it back. He was trying to be patient. He was trying to save his family. But when he got back to his apartment and opened the door, his worst nightmare came to life. He saw them together. His wife's affair finally came clear to him, and his patience snapped. He decided to get revenge. The next day, Shane dropped his baby off at the daycare And then he called his friend Hannah and told her that he had to go to a funeral in the countryside. She agreed to take him to the train station. Behind his calm demeanor, a fierce determination filled him. He was going to have his revenge. He went inside the train and made sure Hannah saw him inside. As the train left the station, he got off and Hannah was none the wiser. He then went to Steve's apartment. He was methodical and calculating. He put on a pair of gloves and went inside. He found a few strands of Steve's hair and put them in a bag. He then began to look for other evidence. He grabbed a knife that belonged to Steve and left. He was ready to play a dangerous game, a game of revenge. As the evening drew to a close, Maria arrived home from work. She was filled with a sense of dread. The apartment was dark and the lights were off. Her husband and baby were not home. She was filled with a sense of relief. She went to her makeup room and was shocked when she saw a photo of her and Steve behind her mirror. She had not brought the photo home, and she suspected that it was a message from Steve. A sudden fear gripped her. She called Steve to ask him what he was doing, but he had no idea what she was talking about. Her heart was in her throat. The phone and the lights suddenly went out, and a hand was seen pulling the plug. She was filled with a sense of dread. Fear filled her heart. Shane, consumed by a desire for vengeance, came out of the shadows and began to choke her. His hands were filled with rage. He then called Steve and let him listen to his wife's screams. He wanted the man to hear her pain. He then murdered his wife in a fit of rage, using the very knife he took from Steve's apartment. After that, he then placed Steve's hair near her body. He also took a piece of cloth with his wife's blood on it and wiped his fingerprints off the key. He was meticulous and calculating. He then left the key in the lock and went to Steve's apartment. Shane knew that Steve was going to go to his apartment. He was one step ahead of everyone. He put the blood-stained cloth on Steve's mirror. He then went to a train station and took a train to the countryside, perfecting his alibi. The next morning, Hannah went to Shane's apartment and found the door unlocked. She went inside and seemed to look for some baby supplies. That was when she found Maria's dead body and was filled with a sense of horror as she witnessed the gruesome scene before her eyes. The police were called, and a full investigation began soon after. Shane played his part as a loving husband. He was filled with a sense of grief and cried hysterically. This gave off the alibi that he wasn't the one ending her own wife's life. After further investigation, the police found Steve's hair on Maria's body, a ring that was taken forcefully, and the knife belonged to Steve. They also found the blood-stained mirror in Steve's apartment and confirmed it was Maria's. With the evidence mounting, the police were convinced the murderer was Steve, Maria's lover. But for the investigation to be airtight, they needed to interrogate Shane and his neighbor, Hannah. However, Shane had thought of everything. He told the police that the day his wife was killed, he had taken his baby to daycare and then gone to the countryside for a funeral of a relative. He provided them with a train ticket as proof. He also had Hannah confirm his story. She told the police that Shane had called her and asked her to take the baby's things to the daycare. He had a perfect alibi. On the other hand, Steve was left speechless. He had no way of defending himself. He was now at the mercy of the police. Steve was brought in for questioning, and despite his pleas and his denials, the evidence was stacked against him. He was framed for a crime he did not commit. The police arrested him and put him behind bars. The police drove Shane and his baby home. The apartment was peaceful, and Shane felt a sense of relief. The dread had lifted. His only goal now was to take care of his baby. But sometimes he would miss Maria. He would look at her pictures and he would cry. He would apologize to her for being a failed husband. He was filled with a sense of regret. He asked himself if what he did was right, but he knew that his wife's actions were unforgivable. He then burned all the photos and began a new chapter. He was finally able to eat in peace. He knew that his baby was better off without her mother. He knew that betrayal was not an accident, but a habit. The baby was the only good thing that came out of his life, and he would do anything to protect her.